Good morning. This is a 2009 Ford Escape. It's Ford Escape. I had people making fun of me, making fun of the names. Anywho, we're replacing a starter on it. I've already gotten this one off. It's pretty straightforward getting down there to it, but they had cobbed some stuff together that caused the starter to short out. So we've gotten that off, and now we're working on getting the push button out of there. It doesn't need that anyways. If you ever run into a situation where your ignition switch doesn't work, you need an ignition switch. In the event that you can't get to one right away, don't run wires. Just come out here and jump the solenoid with a starter. Do it one time, don't do it all the time. Alright, so your starter is down in that hole. You'll see it at the tip of the wire right there. There's two 13mm studs at the front side of it. The back side of it are dowel pins. As you can see from here, both of those are dowels. And then you have a 13mm nut holding a ground strap on. But you can't see it down there, but it's gonna have to be cleaned up. Somebody sprayed a ton of white lithium grease down there too. I might have to clean that up as well. But the terminal ends that go on the back side of this, you're going to have two of them. You got the 13mm here and a 10mm here, because it uses this stupid one that has them both tied together. Let's see if I can get this off of there and get it up here to where I can actually see it. You can't see the back side of it, but I can. Oh, I see one lug. The other lug is just off the side of it. Here's the back side of it. But this is, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not very hard to get out of there. Once you get it unbolted, you're going to want to pick it up off the dowels, turn it sideways, and pull it out from this hole right here between your heater core hose and the lower portion of the intake. Now the next thing we're going to do is get rid of that switch and get ready to replace the actual ignition switch. This technically doesn't have to come out because it's going to leave a hole in there, but I don't want something else to be tied to it for some reason. And knowing the guy that owns this thing, there's probably going to be something that gets tied to it. So we're going to take it out of there. First things third. Yeah. Where you're taking the bottom panel off down there, you can see a couple of the screws right here that holds this cover right here on. They're 7mm. On this side of the I just saw the speedometer hand drop down. That was weird. On this side of the steering column, you're not going to be able to get your hands in there right away. You stick your finger in here and pull out. Oh, hey, you couldn't see that. Stick your finger in here and pull out. And then over here, you're going to do the same thing. This one's still in there. You barely pull on it, and it comes loose. And just like that, we have her out of there. Ooh. I still have my GoPro, but I haven't really been using it that much. It's not as convenient as using my phone because my phone automatically goes straight to YouTube. With the GoPro, I have to send it from my GoPro to my phone and then to YouTube. Figure out what we're tied to down there. May not have to take this part of the dash off at all unless... What in the world is that? Anyways, unless it's tied to something, probably not going to be able to see much of this, but they use trailer wires. This is the turn signal wire. This is going to be the marker wire for the right hand side of the trailer. So I'm not entirely sure how they've routed this, but it's looped. Oh, I see. They pulled all the slack in behind the switch. That makes sense, right? Just all the amp draw. Go ahead and take this thing loose and drop it out of the hole. Okay, now we're going to go to replacing the electrical portion of the switch. And that's going to be done. It's up there, I do believe, on the bottom panel, not the top panel. Go ahead and get that out of the way. It's a good thing it splits in two. There is going to be Torx screws underneath the steering column. Hopefully. There's supposed to be for sure one here and for sure one here, but I'm not entirely sure they've even got one inside of there. Something's inside of that one and something's inside of that one, so figure out the Torx and be right back. Alright, so we did figure it out. I figured it out. It's a 5.5 screw. It's not even a Torx like it should be. I don't know if Ford did this or the previous owner or the shop that had this before did this, but it's not what's normally in these. I mean, not necessarily these, but in Ford in general, I haven't seen it. But they're out. And pop this side right here off of the outside of the ignition switch. We're going to have to raise the steering column back up. Well, I just had it off of there. Why did it go back on? There must be another screw back here in the back. Yep. Just for the record, I will be cleaning all of this up. Even the bit that is not mine, because this vehicle is absolutely filthy. As you can tell by the center console, this should be silver. Alright, so we're on the back side here. And I don't see the ignition switch. That's because I don't think this is the right switch that I found. This is the other side of the ignition switch, the electronic portion. And it doesn't look like it actually comes off of there. Now I understand why they didn't change it. Because the steering wheel is going to have to come off in order to change it. Well, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a couple hour worth of work, so I'm going to get after that. Alright, so after looking at the new switch, this looks identical to the switch that's in there, and it has locking tabs. So I looked at this one. Let's see if I can get something down in here to poke and prod before I get going. So this is the switch, and here are those tabs. That one's pressed in. Sometimes I wish I had eyes on the end of my fingertips, but that would be scary in some situations. You know, like when you're picking your nose or scratching your butt. Alright, I'm probably going to have to do two hands with this, because I don't have enough outward motion to just pop it out. So, I'm going to sit this down, I'll come right back. Alright, she's out of there. I had to use two things, one on the bottom and one on the top, and then pry from the center and then kind of push it towards the dash a little bit, and it came out. So let's get our new switch in. And here's to hoping that the key is in the right correlation. I highly doubt it's going to be, because nothing is ever that way. Alright, I'm pretty sure it's not, so I'm going to go get the key. Alright, so while pushing the switch in, I turned the ignition switch slightly, and it just popped right into place, so we are good there. I'm going to fish this wire back in. Dun, dun, dun. Now we'll go under the hood and replace the starter. Ow. It'll whip me. I don't like it. So this is a really strange looking starter. It reminds me of the newer Ford Mustang starters with a 4-cylinder. They mount very similar, although they are a different design on the bottom side. This is going to be your main hot wire, and this is going to be your exciter wire. So, let's get it into place. See if I can do this. I'm fighting with everything around here. I've got to switch hands. I don't have the flexibility in my right hand that I do with my left. It doesn't help that the hoses are hanging down. I'll roll it over and get it past the hoses. Make sure you watch your temperature sensor under there. You know, I can only see the one dowel, so I'm gonna work on lining it up and hope that the other one actually dropped into place, and it doesn't look like it did. There we go, now it's into place. Alright, starter bolts. There's only two. The first one is way down there. If you're 7 feet tall, this would be probably easier because you have a longer reach from your torso up. But If you're 5'9", like I am, it's not exactly the easiest thing to reach. This one, you have to be a contortionist to get to. Getting it in there is the hard part. Getting it tightened up is the easy part. I think I might have gotten it started. So, stick my fingies in the top side here. Maybe. A very horrible design. Very, very horrible. But at least it's not a Lexus. And no, I'm not talking about the person. Right, electric ratchet. That is snug. That is not exactly tight. Now this one, since I can't see it, is a guessing game, which I guess I got it. See what I did there? Well, I need you to get on the frickin' bolt. Now, I'm not entirely sure I can use the nut and washer off of this, so I'm going to make that decision in just a moment. I hope I can, because the other ones are a little chewed up and not here anymore. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, that one looks good. It just has paint on it. We'll go ahead and stuff the ground down in there and get our hot leads in that general vicinity. It's supposed to be on the other side, Brad. You know, I've never had a dipstick tube get in my way so much as this dipstick tube does. Sorry if you can't see. I cannot see either. Alright, now to tighten the nerd up for the ground strap. The ground strap goes on the starter stud. Doesn't really take a whole lot of torque, so. Alright, let's go to the front side now. Don't really need the light anymore. I never needed it to begin with, really, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I do believe I'm going to be able to use the aftermarket stuff. Alright, that one is on. I gotta use 2 hands. So let's see if I can set you up right here without the telephony falling off. Where's my 10? Stay put. Whoa, I nearly dropped it. Let's see if I got the right size. Yes, I do have the right size socket. Horrible design, horrible design. Make the cables longer. Oh, dropped it again. Is it on there? Oh, scared me. It'd be so nice if it was. Were. So nice if it were. Come on. Freaking dipstick right in the way. It's tight. That is a 10 millimeter, by the way. And I'm fairly certain this one is a 13. Yep, this one is a 13. So, that is done. Now that those are on, we're going to go ahead and put the battery cable in back on. Go grab the 8. Excuse me. Tighten the battery cable end down. Now here's to hoping that it works by the ignition switch this time and not by the push button. Go off. I don't know how to change this. So it doesn't show that it's doing anything on the dash. The key comes out, so that means it's disengaging all the way. Hey, let's see. May not have power to a fuse. I don't know which fuse, but I'm going to poke and prod around here a little bit and see if I can find what fuse may not be doing what. Alright, so I finally got it. It doesn't start the normal way by pushing it forward. But it starts whenever you push it in and push it forward. So it's going to need the whole assembly this switch is good. There was no issues with pats. So the next task at hand is going to be replacing that entire assembly, although it's probably not going to be today.